If you're working as a brand developer, commerce manager, if you were whatever it is, 9 times out of 10, you've worked or approached someone who thinks that they are all the same thing. And let me break this down for you guys. UGC content creators, even influencers, are not the same thing. If you're a person who creates on social media like myself, you more than likely have been asked to do all of these things, and they're all for some reason underneath the same umbrella. And let me break down to you why each and every single one of these things are different. So UGC content creators are different from influencers. Influencers are people who share their lives, and they share a majority of their lives, and they're influential because of the fact that they're able to share their story and their audience knows who they are. They have a personal brand, and that personal brand is who they are, what they're known for, and why they're famous to begin with. So influencers are different than UGC content creators. UGC content creators are people who really showcase their day-to-day life. Maybe they do day in the lives of, but there's nothing that is necessarily more than just that. Influencers also can be UGC content creators, but UGC content creators are users who receive products and who create around the products that they received. UGC content creators are also what TikTok is known for because of the fact that you're able to just post a random video and it go viral. That is a UGC content creator, and that's how they're different than influencers. Then you have someone who's a brand strategist, and a brand strategist is a different ball game, but they expect them to be the same for some reason. And I'm also going to pinpoint what makes a social media manager different than a brand strategist. So a brand strategist is someone who takes a brand and it creates either the brand design for it. They can come up with a strategy of how to grow a brand or a personality or person's brand, and they can create it, execute it, and then get it to come to light. That's what a brand strategist does. It's pretty similar to what a social media manager does, but it is different because of the fact that a brand strategist does not always have to create the content, but sometimes brand strategists do. Social media managers are different than brand strategists because a social media manager can also encompass all of those things. Brand strategists can work with influencers and UGC content creators to build a brand, but social media managers are 9 times out of 10 working with influencers to build a brand. They're working as sometimes as influencers to also build brands. Social media managers are there. Social media management is there for people and agencies who decide that they want to. Social media management is usually done by individuals or agencies. Social media management is usually done by freelancers and agencies who help businesses and individuals grow. Social media managers usually create the content, they film it, they plan out the content creation calendars, and they're able to even post the content for the brand that they're working with. This is different than a brand strategist, which sometimes does create and is also sometimes a social media manager. Brand strategists are usually the ones who are creating the content. And so what makes a social media manager different is that they actually come up with the strategy behind what it means to do that. And a social media manager is not always a UGC content creator. A social media manager sometimes does not even create the content for the brand because they are not always a UGC content creator. So a lot of the times that gets a bit mixed up with people who are looking for help with their brand, and I really wanted to make this video to not necessarily clear things up, but to really understand and express the roles and why they are so different. And a lot of the times content creators feel like they're in UGC mode of creating content for brands because of the fact that it's expected when you're a content creator. Of course you would want our product, and that is also what separates influencers from UGC content creators, is that an influencer for the most part doesn't necessarily have to take the brand deal or to create the content for the brand. Maybe they have their own brands. So that's one of the things that really separates UGC from influencers specifically, and even on down the road when it comes to working and brands reaching out to work with that. Brand strategists are there. They can even help you with making content, help you with making things like contracts to help find UGC content creators and influencers to work with. And that includes and encompasses what it means to have the brand reach a different level or outreach to different people. Even with a brand strategist, making sure that the messaging is the same congruently for all of your platforms is so important and under realized. And the reason why they're so different is and get confused because there are different strategic approaches to it. The brand strategist approach, which I think that most people are looking for as opposed to social media management, is that the brand strategist treats every single post that you post like it is a strategic marketing maneuver. And so when you have a brand strategist that is great at doing just that, it gets pretty clear. Your brand strategy gets pretty clear pretty quickly because you're able to measure out that authority that you have in terms of your brand messaging with what results in conversions. And by clarifying your own personal brand messaging, that's what makes a brand and strategist so much different and so much more useful to a business, or so much more valuable, especially now for people who are looking to build brands and to create content to really capture their audience and convert. Clarifying the core message, I really break it down into what it means to convert an audience. So you really have to get clear on your messaging in order to convert an audience from just someone who may have interests into a brand into a customer. Clarifying your core message of what it means, having it as clear as possible, being able to own your own opinion on what your brand really stands for, and having your customers understand that aspect when they're interacting, especially for the first 3 times with your brand. Nurturing with value. Having value is super underrated in today's world, but brands who are successful this year are growing. Brands who are successful grow with content that provides value for their audiences. By utilizing all of this messaging that you're having, you're able to verify your own authority to your audience quicker than ever before. By how do you verify? You verify by showing proof, by making sure that you're authentic and that your customers, that you can back up what it is that you're able to say. For some businesses, that looks like testimonials, that looks like a lot of things. And making sure that you engage with intention. Engaging with intention is super important to building a brand, especially on social media. Redirecting, of course, to revenue and converting your clients from people who just interacted with your brand on social media. And this is how you interact with your customers who started off in marketing. To now, what you want to do is redirect those customers, those potential customers that have interacted with your content, into actual customers and clients. Tracking what works. Of course, you're going to have that call to action. Having your call to action is super important, and tracking what already is working. So if you're ready to turn your brand and your content into gold and turn it into client attracting material, definitely book a call. If you're ready to turn your content and your strategy as a business into a client attracting generating machine and system, definitely tap into all of the links and offerings. Link in bio.